Okay, well, let's see, is this working? Yeah, it's working. Okay, well, I must have run out of space on there, and that's okay. It's probably time to end that video. I just had to finish up my thoughts on this. The word I was looking for when I got cut off and ran out of space was that schismogenesis word, but uh, we're really on the verge of this precipice of change, I guess. At least people would like to think as much. And I've gone through many different phases in my life, sometimes cynical, sometimes positive. Sometimes I just think everything's going to be alright, mankind's going to find its way. Sometimes I think that we're just doomed. But along the way, I ask myself the same question: what does it matter? What does it matter either way? And what's really important? And how do I make these things important? Well, they just are to me. Life's important. People are important. But most of all, for some reason, I have a desire to know why things happen and how. I know that's not for everybody. And but it's something that I have to do in my life. And rather than be cynical in nature all my life and try to seek out evidence that counters things I don't believe, which tends to be prevalent, I try to try to seek out things that agree with what I do believe, which is prevalent. Whenever I have a theory or an idea, I seek out all the opposition to it and read everything I can about it. And I believe that through this careful analysis, we can figure out what we really need. And I feel like I'm talking in circles sometimes because, I'll get into a video like this and just start talking, yeah, we can change, we can do this, but what is it, and I'm just another guy. I'm not giving you any answers either. See, that's just it. I'm not here to tell you this is the solution because I don't know. I don't know. But what works for me and what seems to be a driving force in my life is to know myself as well as possible and analyze my intentions and my decisions, and to try to follow a pattern of love and acceptance, to follow my heart. But when I tell people, follow your heart, that doesn't sound right to me, because often people's hearts are misled by selfish motives. Such as follow your heart might mean follow the money for some people. That your intuition is telling you, you want that. That's not your true nature. But as usually, I can only speak for myself. Everybody talks about how people have these emotions and people act this way and do this. All we can do is observe another. It's one of the basic laws of the universe that you can never know what it's like to be another person. Ever. You will never know. Because even if you could be in their body, your consciousness existing there, by very definition, changes who it is. And I see people pointing the finger at each other, telling us what we can do differently. It's really the most obvious in movies and celebrity gossip, which is the stuff I hate. I cannot stand it when people talk about celebrities because I have no interest. Somebody said, Joan Rivers died the other day. I'm like, so what? People die all the time. Joan Rivers had a rich ass life and wasted tons of money on cosmetic surgery, self-absorbed, all about looks, shallow. I don't know her. These are just the things that I observe because of all, I've heard her talk on some show or something a few times, but point being that I don't judge, each person's life is their own, but I don't get all upset when somebody dies just because they're famous. Nor do I obsess over their lives and who they were. When Robin Williams died, I was just, honestly, I don't think anybody's really made an impact that's died that's been a person that I don't know personally, ever, except maybe Jerry Garcia. He died when I was about 16, and I remember shedding a tear for him. And the reason why? Because his music moved me. Grateful Dead moved me heavily. That music made me cry, and knowing that he was gone, he would never give me that emotion. Now I know that movies are the same way for people, they've had that emotion, they've had an attachment to a person. That's not what I'm talking about. It's okay to be sad that a person died. My point is not that. I'm kind of having a hard time getting it across. My point is that people are obsessed with others' lives because it's so much easier than looking at themselves and talk about other people and gossip. The whole Justin Bieber crap, and before him it was somebody else, and the O.J. Simpson trial, stuff like that. It's like we want to be caught up in this fantasy of someone else's life, and to me that is the ultimate sin, because the unexamined life is not worth living. Who was it? Was it Descartes that said that, or Socrates? Whatever. I don't care. I don't get into the details of the philosophers. I've learned long ago that I tried to, that the academic side of philosophy means nothing to me. I don't care who said what. I care about what the discoveries were and the realizations were. Because everybody's flawed. Everybody has problems. So we have to accommodate that when we figure out what we're going to do with our future as a species. I mean, what are we going to do, really? I've heard a lot of complaints, very few solutions. A zeitgeist movement or something like that is not a solution. A movement in general is not a solution to society's problems, because a movement requires an agreement among people. What we need is to abandon movements and create an atmosphere where people can appreciate who they are and what they are. So, how do we accomplish that? The only thing I can see, this is my personal opinion on this, and nothing more, is that in the next 20 years or so, if the lights don't go out and we don't end up back in the Stone Age, in the next 20 years or so, as science tries harder and harder and gets deeper and deeper and tries to prove who we are and where we're from, more and more realizations are going to be made that it's not as cut and dry as we thought it was, and that rather than religion saying, haha, see science, you're getting, you're just proving us right, or rather than science picking at religion and saying, haha, look, we're proving you wrong, rather say, wow, look at the scientific approaches giving us results that coincide with what we've been being told for so long. Because people have faith in religion, and a lot of people have faith in science. If we could get the two to get along to the point where we could be working as a team, which is the original intention of science, which was to explain the natural world through observation, it's never been about disproving God. It's never been about disproving religion. Science has been about understanding things so we can weed out the stuff we don't need, weed out the ideas that don't fit, and settle some of the questions we may have, like what is inside a plant, how does a plant grow, how does it function? So the research I was doing the other day led me, my example I guess would be my research on photons and biophotons and the body's photon system, which I have a theory here about this. I'm going to do a different video about this, but we talk, if you know anything about wave and particle duality, we have a wave. It could be a light can be a wave or a particle depending on how it's observed, like with a double slit experiment. Now we're finding that UV light and other lights can be stored. The skin can basically use it as a battery, the cells as a battery. The DNA stores the light, and then the light is emitted like kind of a laser beam to other cells to exchange information. In other words, everything in us is light. We are light beings. So what this did was confirmed thousands of years of Eastern philosophy and mysticism that we've already known. But it's able to take the other half of the people, the scientific people, and say, okay, maybe there's something to it, you see? So it's not about disproving it or finding the scientific answers to mystical questions. It's about explaining that it's not so mystical, it's just the way things are, see? We don't have to separate the two. In other words, you know how hard it is when you find out how something works and it's not so exciting anymore. I think it's more exciting because it confirms things that we can't confirm otherwise. And the aura is explained with this, these volt systems, and Russian scientists have been working on this stuff forever. Torsion fields, which may contain our aura and keep ourselves, our vibes between each other, and all these things. The way the plants communicate the same way. This is the kind of stuff that everybody's been screaming pseudoscience, bullshit, for years, and I've always known it was true. I hug trees, I talk to plants. I feel